Hi, Dan Schaefer again, Democratic candidate running for the Missouri House of Representatives, District 97. So I've heard a lot lately about how our libraries in Missouri, as well as other states, are under attack from an out-of-control, hyper-conservative group of people who are determined to pull books from our library shelves and eliminate the so-called indoctrination of our children. And indeed, if you poke around on the web, you'll find groups like No Left Turn in Education, which advocates for what they call a revival of American education by educating, empowering, and engaging students, parents, and community, emphasizing the role of the parent as the primary custodian and authority of their child. That's their mission statement. So I don't agree that society has ever denied the role of the parent as the primary custodian and authority of their children, but the folks at No Left Turn feel compelled nonetheless to emphasize this point in their mission statement. Now, they've used their influence to ban over 330 books across the state of Missouri, elevating the state of Missouri to third in the nation in the number of books being banned. Now, if you look at many of these banned books, you'll see a lot of graphic novel interpretations of such books like Kurt Vonnegut's Slaughterhouse-Five and Margaret Atwood's Handmaid's Tale. And I get it. You know, these topics in these books are fairly disturbing, but you gotta figure that by the time a kid gets into junior high, he or she is enriched nevertheless by being somewhat familiar with these topics. It becomes part of the knowledge base about our society, a base that gets built upon in the upper level classes. This is a base that includes uncomfortable topics like racism and imperialism and injustice and so on. Now, these are uncomfortable topics, I know, but to refrain from exposing our children to these issues in a controlled environment where they can ask questions will leave them unprepared to face the world where these uncomfortable topics are a cold, everyday reality. But let's put all that aside for the moment, because my biggest concern is how a child grows up and travels that journey from child to young adult and makes self-discoveries along the way. For example, some kids are bullied in school. Now, you heard me discuss my own bullying experiences in a previous video and how I handled it. Now, I'm not saying that I handled it correctly, but by reading some of the comments I received, I realized that there are many folks out there who had similar experiences and can relate. And that's important. Knowing that you're not alone can be a tremendous relief and comfort. So I have to ask this question. Why would we want to ban books on bullying, as many hyper-conservative Republicans have demanded? As kids travel that difficult journey to adulthood, they need to have someone or something to turn to and get advice. If nothing else, they need to know that they're not alone. Now, I could present the same argument about children who question their own sexuality or perhaps the sexuality of a close friend. How do they handle this situation? Again, if we ban books on this topic, our kids will feel even more isolated and alone, perhaps even falling into a pit of self-despair and depression. Do you think every child has a parent that knows how to handle this? I doubt it. I mean, kids often feel unable to turn to their parents for help and advice. Hey, I was a kid at one time. I was also a parent at one time. I know how this works. Your kids are always going to keep some things hidden from you, no matter how much you shower them with love. So where do they go in these critical moments in their time? Books. Books. Now, books won't necessarily cure depression and self-despair, but they can provide a critical stepping stone to the next level. They can let the child know that they're not alone. Why would we deny that to our children? But here we are. Over the past several years, Republicans in our state legislature have been on a crusade of sorts, not only pulling books from our library bookshelves, but threatening librarians with personal lawsuits if they should inadvertently provide a book to a child in need. Now, can you imagine that? A librarian going to jail for helping some child take that critical first step toward a life free from depression. But here we are. And it's getting worse. The ACLU recently filed a lawsuit challenging the indiscriminate pulling of books from library bookshelves. And do you know how the Republicans in the Missouri House of Representatives responded? They passed a bill to completely cut funding from our libraries. You heard that right. They were willing to burn down our libraries just to win an argument rather than listen to other viewpoints. Fortunately, the state Senate restored that funding in the bill, so for now, we dodged that bullet. Folks, knowledge is power. You spend the first few years of your life learning to read, and then you spend the rest of your life reading to learn. If you allow a radical, self-righteous band of hyper-conservative legislators to determine what you read to learn, you're going to find yourself severely shortchanged on the road of life. You may be depressed and not even know why. And if you decide to take that critical first step and turn to your local librarian for some recommendations, you'll find that person hesitant to recommend anything other than perhaps Reader's Digest. Strange, isn't it? The Republicans who scream loudest about censorship are more than willing to apply censorship at our local library. Again, my name is Dan Schaefer, Democratic candidate running for the Missouri House of Representatives, District 97. Thank you for your time.